On Wednesday in Dallas, a gunman opened fire outside a federal immigration office. The shooting took place near an ICE building and has raised new concerns about the evolving threats to federal agencies and public safety. No law enforcement officers were injured, but 3 detainees were shot. 1 was killed. 2 others were critically wounded. According to authorities, the shooter then took his own life. Investigators are now examining the shooter's motives and what this could signal about future security risks. To help us break down the broader implications, we're joined by Eric O'Neill, a former FBI Counterintelligence Operative. Eric is now a leading cybersecurity expert, an attorney, and founder of the Georgetown Group and the Nexusure AI. He works with organizations around the world to defend against cyber criminals and emerging threats. Eric, welcome to Hello Houston.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, you're glad you're here. And if you'd like to join the conversation out there and have any questions for Eric, you can call or text us at 713-440-8870. So, Eric, what do you make of what happened in Dallas on Wednesday?
Well, we know a lot. We know a lot starting this morning because the FBI has put out quite a deal of information about what may have motivated the shooter to climb on that rooftop next to the ICE facility and take quite a few shots indiscriminately at the facility and, of course, at that Sally Port where a van was entering. And that's what took the life of 1 detainee and possibly 2 more. And it looks like he was radicalized somehow and really didn't like ICE. He was planning, in his words, to cause terror for ICE agents. And he certainly wanted to wound or hurt or kill ICE agents. And, his mistake was that the way that he took those shots, he actually hurt detainees who he wrote in his writings he was trying to avoid any of that collateral damage.
When we start to question the authorities about the way they proceed with the process of how they do an investigation, and what comes to mind for me immediately is the picture that was put out right away of the casings of the shells where anti-ICE was written on it. A lot of people speculate that looks a little bit suspect. That how do we know somebody didn't write that on it after the fact? How do we know this information? Once you start questioning the authorities, how can you trust an investigation at all? Where should we find solace in knowing that our FBI is still doing the work of our people?
Right. Well, I'm still a bit of a cheerleader for the FBI. I know they've come under insane scrutiny lately, but I'd like to think that those field operatives who are conducting the investigation are following the facts where they lie purely without any bias. That's certainly the way that I conducted my investigations. We're in a new era, though, where social media has led even our highest government officials to post things ahead of when we would have seen in the past. I trust that the shooter did write anti-ICE on that ammunition, and it's looking from more information that's coming out, in especially his writings, which are being revealed, that he certainly was ideologically against ICE in many different ways, even called them human traffickers.
So, the big fear with violence out there has been you're trapped in a building, either in a movie theater or a grocery store or a school, and there's a shooter coming for you. Now, it's almost evolving that if you're just out in the open, if someone's perched on a building, then everyone is a target.
Well, one of the shooter's goals before he took his life was to create an environment of terror for law enforcement officers. And to some extent, he has succeeded because anyone who is an ICE agent right now, and more broadly, a federal agent, is concerned that they might not be coming home to their family at the end of a shift. There will be a lot more security at these facilities. I know that ICE facilities now are engaging in active shooter training. They're hardening the facilities. They're even providing EMT training for what happens if you get shot so that everyone is able to quickly provide immediate aid. And we not only have to worry after this about ICE agents, we have to worry about detainees who could be in the line of fire or protesters who like to show up at these facilities. Anyone could potentially be a victim.
Well, and it sort of been lost. You just mentioned that. It's kind of been lost that a detainee was killed and 2 others might die. They're critically wounded. These are people who I'm assuming were brought in against their will by federal ICE agents and were being detained more than likely. I mean, I don't know anything about them. I mean, it's just they're detainees. That's all I'm getting. And These people were at least expecting to be protected. Well, I mean, if someone took me and arrested me and put me in a facility, I would at least expect that they were going to protect me from being killed. But I've heard no one address this.
Yeah, right now we know very little about the detainees, other than there have been some organizations who mentioned that that one of them is a Mexican citizen. Other than that, we know very little about them, other than they were unfortunately in the line of fire. In my calling it is this was a terrorist. He wanted to cause terror, and he shot very indiscriminately at the building. Some reports are that there were more than 20 rounds that were fired at this building, and we now know that it was an 8mm bolt action rifle, which means that he would have had to work the bolt every time he fired and reload multiple times to fire that often at that building, which suggests that even though he was an amateur shot, he certainly wanted to cause as much mayhem as possible.
I want to go back to a little bit we were talking about earlier when it comes to the release of information and how it's released and what it does for your job when you were working this, how it complicates matters. And it's the combination of really fast to put some information out there, such as the pictures and the images we have seen on social media. But then on the other hand, the slow release of information about who the victims were, who these detainees were. How do you justify what is coming out at what pace? And how does that complicate the job of those actual officers on the ground trying to figure it all out?
It's a good question. In my day, nothing would be released until well after the investigation. Of course, I was working mostly classified counterterror and counterintelligence, so a lot of that would never come out. But in a case like this, typically you would not see much or even much of a statement from the FBI until the investigation was concluded. I think that in recent years, there's been a lot of criticism against the FBI for waiting too long. And now this might be a reaction in the other direction of putting it out a little bit too early. I would have liked to have a little bit more time for them to definitively have categorized the amount of evidence, finish the search of the home, finish the online searching that happens now. Remember, everything we do online is recorded forever. You can delete it, but it's still there somewhere. And the FBI will be doing quite a bit of sleuthing to understand whether he was coordinating with anyone, whether there is somebody else that needs to be arrested, and learning a lot about his ideology and the reasons for why he took that rooftop and fired those shots from his online searches and online presence. Now, maybe we're in a new normal because it sure seems that everyone on every side of the aisle is putting out statements very early when anything happens. I think social media is not a net good for society.
Let me ask this from your point of view and your understanding of how these operations work. Why would you believe we don't know who was shot at, who these people were that were injured or in one case died? Why do you think that hasn't been readily made available?
I can't answer that. I'm not sure. Sometimes they don't release this information until family members are contacted. And maybe in the case of detainees, they don't have contacts to contact. Typically, if someone is hurt or injured and they're an innocent, you're not going to publish their names, but there could be more information about them. I just am not in a position to answer that.
How would you educate us all out here with, as we've been talking about, this onslaught of information that comes out, some rumors, some conspiracy theories, some actual facts? How should we read the information coming toward us today so that we get a better grasp of what's happening and understand the situation in the most truthful manner possible?
That's an excellent question. I always wait before I remark on anything like this until I get an official statement from the FBI. The FBI director posting something on social media, we do have to consider that an official statement from the FBI. He is the FBI director, even though that might be somewhat unusual. But I don't buy into media reporting that doesn't link directly to a statement by the FBI, anonymous reporting from law enforcement officers. You always want to wait until you have that statement, it's published somewhere, and you can look at something that was a fact from the investigation. And that's where I've been looking.
Yeah, I think you might be referring to the FBI director's remark about after the Charlie Kirk assassination that we have the guy, and when in fact they did not have the guy.
Yes, that was a little bit that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing about a fugitive, which is very different from the ICE shooting, because the shooter at the ICE facility in Dallas, John, he if that's his name, I'm misremembering. I think he took his life, so we know who that shooter is. The Charlie Kirk shooter, that was a fugitive. So you want to be very certain that you've got the guy when you publish that you've got him, because that is a way of telling the community, okay, we got him, you're safe. If you then say, we got him and oops, that was the wrong guy, then the community wonders if law enforcement is going to be able to catch this fugitive, or if they're really taking it seriously. So that was a bad mark on the director's immediate rush to get information out there. And that's why it's always best to wait until you're 100% positive of your facts before you publish something for the media or for citizens.
Well, it's always a problem, especially in the way these two shootings happened so close to each other, in that first misstatement by Kash Patel, which then helps to fuel more speculation that this is conspiracy now in this shooting because the information we can't trust as much as we thought we could. So that rush to get something out there, it's what we face too in the news industry all the time. You got to make sure when you go forward with your information that it is the accurate information, or your trust starts to erode. As we see more of this happening, how does the FBI get on that path again to reassure faith in the people and the citizens to believe the FBI is doing the work?
Well, the FBI has the same problem, and you brought up journalism. The journalists and news in general also has this problem. The idea of investigators, and I've always said the world needs more investigators. I mean, I've done a lot in my life, and when people ask me, quintessentially, how do you describe yourself to yourself? I say an investigator, someone who looks for the facts, pure facts, without bringing their own bias. And we're seeing a lot of bias everywhere. We had problems with bias in the FBI. That absolutely has to be corrected, because citizens have to believe that when the FBI says that this is a fact, it is a fact. And that's why we need more investigators everywhere, both in the FBI and law enforcement in general, but also investigative journalists. I love to see us get back to that core value of news.
Eric, turning just a little bit to your expertise, you're the founder of the Georgetown Group, and I hope I say this right, Nexusure AI?
Yes, Nexusure.
Nexusure. So we were talking on this program just a day or two ago about AI and how difficult it can be when you see a video to determine if it's real or not. I guess you broach that subject with your clients about how to recognize fake AI social media.
Certainly. And here in my new book that comes out in just a few weeks on October 7th, Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime, I predicted that by 2026, 90% of what we see online will be generated by AI. And it's already happening. If you see a lot of what they call AI slop on social media, it's all created by AI. A lot of articles now are written by AI that you're reading all over what we call new media, right? Those who are doing radio programs are safe from this. And you soon won't be able to distinguish whether you are actually talking to the real Eric O'Neill right now, or if I'm using an AI and just typing what I want it to say. That can be a real danger. So what I do is I teach people ways that you can spot AI and distinguish the lie from the truth. Because what attackers, and particularly cyber criminals, are doing right now is using AI to deceive us, whether it's pretending that they're a loved one that's been kidnapped or is in distress and you need to wire money immediately, or fooling businesses out of millions of dollars by using these AI scams, whether it's voice or video. AI has even been used to hijack some of our politics by manufacturing AI voice clones of everywhere from Joe Biden to Marco Rubio to cause mayhem. So yes, AI has great benefits for humanity, but there is a very significant dark side.
So I want to remind everyone we're talking with Eric O'Neill, a former FBI counterintelligence operative, and we're talking about a whole bunch of concerns with the FBI and with AI and cybersecurity. If you want to join the conversation, 713-440-8638. 8870.
Well, and to this point, should our financial advisor or a banker or someone that we have to trust with our money or even our family, should we have a safe word, a password, so that if I call you and say I need you to wire $500 to me immediately, and the password is Eric, then is that a help? I mean, how are we going to fight against this?
Absolutely. You're thinking like a spy hunter right there. You should. You should have a safe word with your family. There's an AI scam that is causing a massive mayhem around the world, where what these criminals will do is they use social media, your social media, to perform reconnaissance. They find a moment when a family member is separated, they're on travel, they're on vacation. They clone that person's voice using social media, and then they might call you as your daughter saying, I've been kidnapped. My wallet got stolen, my phone got stolen. I need you to wire me money right away. And they put massive pressure on you, and people are sending these wires, and they're out thousands of dollars. Companies are out millions of dollars. So yes, this AI is something that we have to worry about. And financial advisors, this is being used now too against people, where AI is being used to pretend that they're financial advisors, that they're going to help you with some new cryptocurrency investment scheme. It's called pig butchering. They steal all your money, and once you've given it all to them, they disappear. So do have those safe words or safe phrases. I use the first line with my family from a really fun poem, and no, I'm not going to tell you what it is. So that if my daughter calls me and says, Dad, I'm at school and my phone got stolen and everything, and I need you to send me some money. If she doesn't say the first line of the poem, I know it might be AI. Do this with your financial advisor as well.
I will
have some second and third layer of just checking.
I'll say even the most simple thing you can do, if ever you are contacted by your bank to do something, you hang up and you call your bank back at the bank number that you know as your bank number to find out if they actually placed the call. At least that was the old school way of doing it. I'm sure the world is advanced beyond that, but that's a simple way to first at least weed out some of it, correct?
Oh, that is an excellent way. And that's actually one of the tips that I put in my new book, that if you do get a email, a text, a DM on social media, something that comes around across Facebook or Instagram or whatever you like to look at, a phone call now, because there are dark web cybercrime phone centers that will use AI to call you, and you feel that this is something that's too good to be true, or you feel that tickle in your stomach that says, this doesn't seem right, that's your instinct telling you that there might be a problem. And if that happens, you absolutely say, I will call you back, hang up, and call that institution directly and make sure that it's real. Yep. I'll bet you 90% of the time it's not real.
Even if I don't feel the tickle in my stomach, I still hang up and call them back just out of force of habit. It's the safest way I know to do it. Many times you're right. It's been fraudulent.
And Eric, aren't they cloning phone numbers that look like, it'll come up on your caller ID, Chase Bank, or come up Harris County Sheriff's Department or CenterPoint Energy, and you really think you're talking, and they'll put you on hold, say my supervisor needs to talk to you, put you on hold, another person comes on, make it all seem very official that you have, we need to get some money back into your account. It was you were robbed, and we want to help you, so give us your account number and confirm it. It's really hard now.
You guys are all very good at this. I should bring you on the road on my book tour and do a fireside chat. You're right. They are now cloning. The easiest way to spoof a phone number, if you're in Nigeria or Russia or China, to fool somebody, is you just go on Google Voice and get a local number that you want to use to scam somebody in whatever state they're in. There are cyber criminals who are even using these backpacks that burst texts directly to cell towers using the phone number of their choice that can fool and scam you. So around tax season, you're going to see a lot of calls from the IRS. Around back to school, you're going to see a lot of calls purported to be from your child's school. Around the holidays, you see all sorts of gift scams and purchase scams. Scammers are opportunists, and they will look for that moment when they can best deceive you and find a way to do it. So we always have to be on our guard.
In addition to phone numbers, also email addresses. They make them look awfully similar to the email of the institution that's sending them, and so it can be very tricky. So pay very close attention to that whenever you get an email that tells you something. Before we run out of time, really quickly, I'm just kind of curious, going back to your FBI, put your FBI hat back on again. And in talking about all of this, we look at our digital footprints. And oftentimes after the fact of something happening, they can go back and look at these digital footprints to see what people are doing and have done and felt and believed. In the past, I'm assuming it was a different way of investigating the background of somebody who has committed some kind of atrocity here. Is it making it harder or easier having these digital footprints existing, especially when you talk about AI and this new kind of stuff out there, to know and put value on what you're finding in these background searches?
Certainly. I suspect that a lot of the work in looking at the digital past is helping us understand the motivations behind these killers, particularly in the cases when they take their own lives, which is most of the time here. It's very helpful. And this digital sleuth thing is a very ardent goal of the FBI. There's a lot of work and opportunity for new agents to learn this technology. There is technology that will synthesize great swaths of information from many different buckets, including digital online presence, biometrics, video cameras, Ring doorbell cameras, information that's sent in from the population. This was used as part of the manhunt for the Charlie Kirk killer. Remember that everything we do online stays online. No matter what you try to do to delete it, it's there somewhere. And this is a very good tool for law enforcement.
Eric O'Neill is a former FBI counterintelligence operative and cybersecurity expert. Eric, thank you so much for joining us on Hello Houston today, and good luck with the book.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here.
Coming.